There have been many strange experiences in the past weeks, things I found myself doing that I never thought I'd do, or doing in a way that I never thought would be possible. One such was this morning when I shared in the Newbridge School Assembly, sharing with them the Harvest campaign and its message. A strange experience because it was all done online and I couldn't see the classes that I was speaking to. I just hope that they could see and hear me. Very difficult to share in an assembly when there's no reaction, there's no sense of engagement with those you're talking to. And I began my talk this morning reflecting on how things are so different now, not just to what they were 6 months ago, but to what they would have been about 200 years ago. For in those days, none of the buildings that we now see around us in Fratton even existed. Many of the buildings that we now take for granted only appeared at the end of the 19th century. Prior to that, this was open land, farmland, small scatterings of habitations surrounded by fields, and this time of year would have been busy with the gathering in of the harvest crops, making sure that we had the necessary wheat, the grain, the fruit, the vegetables, gathering them in and storing them safely so that we would get through the winter that lay ahead, a winter which we knew would be difficult if we didn't have enough food set by to sustain us and to nourish us. And in those days, celebrations of harvest were at the heart of our lives as a community and as individuals. It was a chance for us to pause and after the hard work of gathering everything in, to rejoice and to give thanks for what we had, praying that we now had enough to guide us through the weeks that lay ahead. So this is our harvest season, a chance for us to pause and to reflect on what we have and what we value and what we have gleaned and gained that we can set by and store that helps us through the weeks and the months that lie ahead. With thankful hearts encourages us to do that with our food and to recognize the food that we've learnt to value rather than simply pick off the shelf or out of the fridge whenever we fancied it. To recognize that those things are valuable and precious and need to be managed carefully. But Thankful Hearts also gives us a chance to look back and to think about what we've learnt to value. What are the things that we used to take for granted that we now recognize are important to us in our lives as we move forward? What are the things that will help us as we face the weeks and the months that lie ahead? Weeks and months that seem to be uncertain and seem to be full of many more challenges, some of which we may be aware and some of which are yet unknown. Last night, the PCC met and discussed what they had valued in the past months, and the answers were varied. Some had learnt to value the friendship of others, the support they had received, the time they had now been able to spend talking with family and friends. Others valued their health and the well-being of their families, and the work of the health services, those who work in healthcare and those who support us, and how valuable they have been. Others spoke of the beauty of creation, the watching of the sunrise down at the beach, the sense of space and openness that the beach and the sea gave them, the sense of the beauty of the world around them. Others spoke of God and his mercy, of his generous love, of his constant presence with us in our prayer, in our worship, and in our lives. As we keep this time of harvest, as we think with thankful hearts, perhaps find some time today to reflect on what it is that you've come to value. What are the things you no longer take for granted? What are the things that you find precious? And how can you share that thankfulness with others? How can you use those things you've learned and stored and accrued to help you and others to face the weeks and the months ahead? Perhaps most importantly of all, to reflect on how you have been aware of Christ's presence with you, and how we may need to be even more aware of that presence as we move through the days ahead.